everyone. Welcome back to Relax with Animal Facts. I am Steph Wolf, and today I'm going to be learning with you about our furry, scaly, or possibly even slimy friends. And in today's case, it is actually going to be a feathery friend of ours because we are covering the oh so wonderful peacock. This is a very special listener episode dedicated to Maddie, Ruby, and to Kirsty. So I hope you enjoy your very own episode. And if you would like to request an animal of your own, you can do so by going to relaxwithanimalfacts.com and clicking on the Animal Request tab. If the show helps you at all and you would like access to even more of it, including exclusive episodes every single week, and if you would like to vote on episodes once a month, you can go to patreon.com/relaxwithanimalfacts or just click on the Patreon link in the description. The wonderful soundscapes in this episode are courtesy of George Vlad. I have linked his YouTube and his website, and I encourage you to go check them out. And now let us begin to wind down a little bit. If you are new, welcome. If you are returning, you know exactly what I am going to be asking of you. I have 3 primary exhortations for you. My first exhortation to you is that you put on a comfortable pair of shoes, something that's comfy and versatile, because we are going to be needing that for where we are going today. And the second thing I encourage you to do is to perhaps notice where you are carrying some tension. The fact of the matter is, it is quite difficult to relax when we are stiff as a board, and so you can scan your body from bottom to top and try to notice, is it in the shoulders, is it in the neck, maybe it's in the hands. Wherever you carry tension, I encourage you to do your best to relax those muscles. You can picture some jello, any color or flavor that you like, and you can do your best to impersonate it, really become the jello. And the third thing I encourage you to do is to give your mind permission to wander and journey with me into a forest in India where the peacock resides. I do not think that we have been to India very often on this podcast. Thankfully, this creature has brought us to some of the most lush forests in the world. We could also have been in the forests of Sri Lanka for this particular species of peacock. And I believe it might be helpful for us to cover what exactly a peacock is. The word peacock is actually the male form of this bird. This creature can also be referred to as peafowl. That is when we are referring to them as a whole. So strictly speaking, the male form of this bird is a peacock, and the female is a peahen. Both of them are what are known as peafowl. And so we are in this Indian forest looking for the blue or Indian peacock. But we could also have been to Myanmar or to Java, where there is the Javanese peacock. There is also the Congo peacock, which is in the forested interior of the Congo. This is a species that was actually discovered relatively recently. And so while I will continue to refer to these creatures as peacocks, as that is the popular usage, the word alone actually refers to just the male. But if you were counting, there are 3 species of peacocks. They are part of the pheasant family, and they each have their own little differences. And these are those big, colorful pheasants that we often associate with that blue and green color. The scientific name of this creature will of course depend on the species, but the one common thread between them is the scientific name pavo. This is simply the Latin word that was used to describe this creature. What we mostly associate with the peacock is, of course, its resplendent tail feathers. And when you are picturing this creature, you are in fact picturing a peacock, but not a peahen. While of course the male and the female look similar in some ways, the coloration is vastly different. Researchers say that it is precisely these majestic tail feathers that are used to attract the peahens. And so because the mating display only goes in one direction, the female has no need for these extravagant feathers. The females are smaller and they are mostly sporting colors of brown and white, not blue and green. They will still have that famous head crest, but they are not nearly as showy as the males are. And an interesting fact about this tail display is that it takes about 3 years for the peafowl to even develop it. They will wait and continue to practice their tail display until they feel confident enough to waltz around and show what they have. One thing that I find awesome about this bird is the group names that it was assigned by researchers. When they all come together, they can be referred to as a muster of peacocks, an ostentation of peacocks, and a pride of peacocks. I find it awesome that the peacock is given the same group distinction as a lion is, but I also love the group name of ostentation. If you have ever heard that adjective before, ostentatious, it is always referring to a kind of pretentious display of something. You can think of somebody who is strutting around with wealth and luxury and is showing absolutely everybody. They are not hiding the diamond necklace under the jacket or under the shirt, but they are purposefully brandishing these things, intending to impress everyone around them and get everyone to look at them. It is particularly this quality that was turned into a noun as ostentation and attributed to a group of peacocks. And of course, it is intuitive to think why they would do so. The peacock is a beautiful creature that has no qualms about showing the wealth and luxury, really, of their tail feathers. Sometimes from these facts you learn more about researchers than you do about the animals themselves. And these birds are actually ground feeders that eat insects, plants, and small creatures. Because they eat both animal and plant material, they are considered to be omnivorous, meaning they eat both. And as they are hunting or plucking away with their sharp beaks, these crests that they have on their head will bounce and dance around, and these crests are for more than just impressing the male or the female. They are specifically more than decorative for the peahen. For them, the crests act as a sensor in addition to just looking great. When the male peacocks rattle their tails at about 25 times per second, an onlooking female will both see the display with her eyes and she will be able to feel it in the crest. When the peacock is rustling its feathers super quickly, it is creating a vibration or a resonant frequency. And that is something that requires instrumentation to be able to detect. Of course, the peahen has their wonderful crown on their head that can detect such frequencies, and so the females can see and really feel the performance by the male. What a marvel! And researchers say that as the peahens are looking at the displays from the males, they are judging the fitness of the peacocks based on the strength of their visual display. And so as the male peafowl or the peacock is brandishing its wonderful tail feathers, rattling them around to create an illusion of spots that are hovering over a background, the peahen is judging their movement and their dance, if you want to call it that, in order to choose their mate carefully. But the question arises, why is this something to be appealing? How quickly one peacock can rattle its tail feathers, or how vibrant their colors are, these things do not necessarily provide some distinct advantage in survival, or at least they do not seem to from the start. And so scientists are tasked with finding out why females find the males that are more vibrant in their displays to be the ones that they want. Some scientists say is because the vibrant blue ones look like blueberries. Others will say that this colorful display may serve as a deterrent from predators, similar to a mechanism of camouflage, in which a creature has a distinct coloration that maybe indicates to the predator they do not taste very good or they are poisonous, and so this is not something that is set in stone at the moment. Some research indicates that it is actually the angle of the peacock's tail feathers and not the size of the display that is the most important bit. It is also said that the dancing and the vibrations of their feathers, as well as the vocalizations performed during this ritual, we can call it, are actually very important parts. The male peacocks are not just doing it for fun, but it is an important variable for mate choice. And when you have a free moment, whenever that is, perhaps it is tomorrow, you can take a look at this display in its fullness because perhaps you have not seen it before. It is amazing. The symmetry and the organization of their plumage once they go into their display is just mesmerizing. It looks like some fancy designer clothing that somebody would wear, and I am sure that there are designers out there that have taken inspiration from the peacock in order to make their suits or their dresses or whatever. I just find it so cool. And a little known fact is that peacocks shed their feathers. After mating season is over, they simply come off of this fancy bird, and their train, as it is called, that is referring to their iconic plumage, not to the thing that goes choo-choo, will slowly shed over time. That is why if you are reading something about the peacock, you might run into a phrase known as train rattling. That refers to the vibration of their plumage when they are attempting to attract a peahen. And one might think that these animals are all show and no go, but they can in fact fly. They of course will not be flying like a wandering albatross or like a peregrine falcon, but they can in fact fly for very short distances, and that is impressive nonetheless. And of course, the peacock is a sort of creature that is going to cause a stir or an impression on onlookers, and history bears this out. They are the national bird of India. They play an important role in Greek mythology, where they are the symbol of immortality. Some other religious groups have seen them as symbols of creativity. There are early Christian mosaics and paintings that will depict peacocks, interpreting the many eyes of their plumage as representing the all-seeing God or the church. In ancient Persian society, peacocks were associated with the tree of life. And so, of course, such a creature is going to give a notable impression to others. Most recently, I heard it crudely put that it is a rainbow chicken. I find it interesting that in antiquity they are referred to as symbols of creativity, of immortality, as representing the eyes of the omnipresent, or perhaps symbolizing the tree of life, and then here we are in the 21st century describing them as rainbow chickens. I think that is hilarious. And if we thought the blue and green could cause a stir, there are actually snow-white peacocks. This is the result of a genetic condition referred to as leucism. They are not white because of albinism, and in the peacock's case, it results only in the loss of pigment from feathers. And so we have white peafowls walking around out there. It occurs very rarely in nature, and it can be achieved by breeding selectively. But white peacocks do in fact exist. Peacocks, and in particular the Indian blue peafowl that we are looking at today, will live from between 10 to 25 years old in the wild and in captivity. In Asia, they have a few predators, the main ones being jungle cats, wild dogs, and mongooses. There are other potential ones as well, such as raccoons, coyotes, wolves, and even dogs that are domesticated. They do not have a vast array of defense systems, and so even large house dogs can take down a peacock. And now let us go to the name of the creature, the peacock. What does it mean, or where does it come from? Its modern usage has been used as early as the 1300s and is used to describe a bird of the genus pavo. It goes back to the Latin word pavo, which was simply their way of saying peacock. And as Etim Online writes, they are specifically noted for their strutting gait, their imposing magnificence, and their displays of their tail feathers. It has been used as kind of an insult or a derogatory term to describe a person who is vainglorious in nature. And writers from 1500 years ago, including Augustine and Epiphanius, believed that the flesh of the peacock was incorruptible. Epiphanius wrote in an old work, "When he sees his feet," that is the peacock, "he screams wildly, thinking that they are not in keeping with the rest of his body." And so Epiphanius is observing the peacock strutting around with feet that are corruptible, that is, feet that are susceptible to cuts and scratches and wear and tear, but the rest of their body remains vibrant and beautiful at all times. And so that is a very interesting observation. It is, of course, not true, but it is interesting nonetheless. The review of this episode is coming from Sarah Brightman, who is writing all the way from the United States of America. And Sarah writes, "After an anxiety attack and a horrible headache, I couldn't fall asleep. Usually brown noise does the trick. I'm just interjecting here. I did not know that such a thing as brown noise even existed. I thought white noise was what it was called. But perhaps there is a whole genre of something I am ignorant of." But Sarah continues, "Usually brown noise does the trick, but this time nothing seemed to help. It occurred to me that if I put on an Animal Planet documentary, I might be able to fall asleep, but the light of my phone screen seemed to make the headache even worse. A podcast about animal facts was the next logical idea, and that's how I found this pod. Worked like a charm. The detailed descriptions and imagery makes it incredibly easy to picture the animal, its habitat. I'm so glad that I found this podcast. Made me feel so much better all around. I got to rest, I learned something new, and it eased my anxiety. And the cool thing is that the next day I was able to remember a fact or two, which is a big plus." Thank you, Sarah, for taking the time to write that very thoughtful, very kind review. I'm so glad that you were able to find the podcast after all, and that you're now a part of the Animal Podcast family. I also love Animal Planet documentaries and really anything with that one gentleman in it. David Attenborough is his name. I would do my impression, but it would be at the risk of waking everybody up, and so I will spare you that pain. If Relax with Animal Facts has helped you at all in any way, taking a minute or two to leave something short and sweet, or something very thoughtful like Sarah, helps to grow the show, it helps to make it better, and I am always so grateful for you guys doing so. If you want to request an animal for the show, you can go to relaxwithanimalfacts.com. If you would like to request an animal for the show, you can do so by going to relaxwithanimalfacts.com and clicking on the Animal Request tab. If you would like to get in touch with me for any other reason, you can send an email to relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com, or you can send a message to Relax with Animal Facts on Instagram. For more Relax with Animal Facts and voting on next episodes, you can go to patreon.com/relaxwithanimalfacts, or just click the link in the description, and for only $1 a month, you can get 4 exclusive episodes every month. The ambiances that were used in this show were courtesy of George Vlad. His YouTube and his website are in the description, and I encourage you to go check him out. The resources that were used in this episode come from Britannica.com, nationalgeographic.com, brightly.eco, treehugger.com, and etimonline.com. All of these are also in the show notes, and I encourage you to explore to your heart's content. What an amazing creature we have covered today. Even though I think the peacock is one of the most well-known exotic creatures, I seemed to learn so much, and I hope that you did with me too. Perhaps you are a peacock expert. I cannot rule that out either. But I hope all of you have enjoyed this episode as much as I have, and I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast episode with the next animal. Take care.